Hey, hello out there in Crazyland. We're in Crazyland in here too. This is the lovely Marina Aris, and I'm MM DeVoe, and this is the Pen Parentis Literary Salon. We are so happy that you are on our show tonight. Hello to anybody who's watching in playback. Hello to everybody who's watching in real time. This is all a crazy fun day. Everything. It's the first day of warmth in New York City. So it's like New York is swarming. The streets are crazy. Everybody's like hyper and up. And I don't even know what's happening. Make sure you put your name in the comments and tell us where you're watching from so that we can talk to you during the show if you're watching live. Marina, how are you? You just came back from somewhere.
Yes, California. Yay.
Oh, amazing.
I understand why a red eye is a red eye.
I know what you mean. And we just came back from AWP, where Pen Parentis had two booths. We had one booth in the middle and an outpost for all of the people with strollers who don't really want to be in the chaos of the middle of it. So we had this little outpost. It was really
we want to know about the dance party.
Oh my God, the dance party was so good. We also threw a big dance party with City Lit, with Kave Kanam, with Kundiman, with Loft Literary Space. I mean, it was it was sold out, 300 people. And we danced to every possible kind of music. Awesome. It was so cool. But what we should do is pull up our authors for this month. I'm super excited. Our topic is the things they leave us. Who are to introduce our authors for us today, Marina?
All right. Today we have Amanda Johnston, Caroline M. Grant, Janet Constantino, and Stewart Lewis. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you with us today.
Hi, you guys. It's super exciting to have Amanda for the first time and Janet for the first time, Caroline back and Stewart back. So it's like 50-50 and all the things. Let's see who's out in the audience, shall we? Is anybody out there? Nobody's writing yet, so we don't know who's out there. We know you're watching, but we don't know who you are. But I do want to say hi to our sponsors. First of all, I definitely see Clydette in the front row.
Hi, Clydette.
Hi, Clydette. And thanks to Tony and Lori and Paige and Lisa and Christina for buying tickets. That's very nice of you to drop us a little extra when you're buying our tickets. That's very nice of you, and all the rest of you, hi. And just so you know, this event is made possible. This is the legal language. It is made possible in part by support from poets and writers, the DeGroat Foundation, the Poetry Foundation, and public funding from the New York State Council on the Arts. That is how we are required to say it. But what we actually want to do is just say thank you so much, you guys. You're amazing. And without you, we couldn't do this. And what we're doing here is what Pen Parentis does, which is we are trying to keep writers creative after they have kids. So all of these authors that we're presenting today have kids. And now we're going to find out a little bit more about them, let them do a little bit of reading, and then we're going to get into a nitty-gritty discussion about their lives and things and how they write, and where they get their stuff, and all the things. So, Marina, take it away.
All right, let's get started. Today, Amanda Johnston, who is a writer, visual artist, and 61st Poet Laureate of Texas, she is the author of the poetry collection Another Way to Say Enter and 2 chapbooks. She edited the anthology Praise Song for the People, Poems from the Heart and Soul of Texas. Her work has appeared in publications including Poetry Magazine, Callaloo, The Rumpus, and the Moth Radio Hour. She has received fellowships and awards from organizations such as the Academy of American Poets. And she is also the founder of Torch Literary Arts and a former board president of the Cave Common Foundation. I've got new contact lenses, sorry. Welcome, Amanda. We're so excited.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to be in the company of other parents forging through this thing called life on and off the page. I'm going to read 2 poems, and the first is On the Other Side for the children of Gardner Betts. From my window, I see the children's prison. Juvenile detention sounds softer than it is. A younger version of me, pregnant and full of fire, sat in that box, weighing my future and the unnatural order of things. What a waste. One teacher shook her head upon my withdrawal. Just another insert stereotype. If only her mother, if only her father. History repeats itself again, my daughter churning inside my womb. 30 years later, on the other side of the street, I watch from the opulent hotel as little futures are pushed down the pipeline of forgotten children. I lean closer to my reflected eye, see the gritty residue of the past speckled across my face.
Beautiful.
And the second poem, Happy Women's History Month. The second poem is in honor of Phyllis Wheatley Peters, who was recognized as the first published poet of African descent in the United States. She is also only the third, with the full-length book, I should say, and she's also only the third woman in the United States, or the third woman in the United States to have published a full-length collection. And if you are not familiar with who Phyllis Wheatley Peters is, I'm about to share in the epigraph. So the title of this is This Too Is Work. For Phyllis Wheatley Peters, who was kidnapped from her family in the Senegal-Gambia region of West Africa in 1761 by enslavers and sold in Boston when she was about 7 years old. She is considered to be the first African-American author of a published book of poetry. I know who I am, but these white men want me to show them, prove I am a master of their tongue. They sit me down and say, write, and I am already the poem they seek. Stole away from my homeland, far from the great winding river and green hills that rise and fall with each line I summon from my quill. This is dangerous work, creating verse beyond their understanding of my being. I perform on the edge of peril. They pontificate and praise themselves for what they have done to me, what they've shaped in their image and sound. But I know who I am. I have a secret name tucked in my cheek. It sharpens the razors I hide in each syllable they greedily chew. I write a feast and feed the world the devil's delicacy. I cook the poems and write myself free. Thank you.
Yes.
So good, so good. So Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about founding Torch and what it means and what its mission is and what it does?
Sure. So Torch Literary Arts is a nonprofit that supports and amplifies Black women writers. I founded Torch in 2006 when I was looking for a space that like Torch that didn't exist. So if you build it, they will come. And now here we are celebrating 20 years of Torch this year.
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you. So for 20 years, we have published over 300 writers and counting in Torch magazine from all over the world. We feature writers in our Wildfire Reading Series and other special events with our partners. We host an annual retreat that brings in 8 fellows with works in progress across poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and script. And the most important thing is that from emerging to established writers, we want to make sure that Black women writers feel seen, know their work and their voices matter, and can find each other on and off the page.
It's so important. It's such good work. And it's such good work. I've heard such good feedback from everybody. And also, just so you know, Sophia Rade is out in the audience and says wonderful poems, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Sophia.
So let's see who's next. We're going to go through everybody and then we're going to have a big conversation. So,
all right. Thank you again, Amanda. All right. Caroline M. Grant is the co-founder and former director of the Sustainable Arts Foundation, which for nearly 15 years supported writers and artists with children before recently sunsetting and returning its funds to Indigenous communities. She is the co-editor of 2 anthologies. Her new book of essays, Make Yourself Useful, A Life in Essential Foods and Unexpected Tools, is forthcoming in 2027. Caroline's essays have appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Salon, and other publications. She served for a decade on the editorial board of Literary Mama, including 5 years as editor-in-chief, and has taught writing at UC Berkeley, Stanford, and the San Francisco Art Institute. She lives in San Francisco with her husband and family. Welcome, Caroline.
Yay.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back with Pen Parentis. It was like 12 years ago that I read with you the first time.
Did you read at the foodie salon?
Yeah.
That was so great.
You just host the best gatherings. So I'm so happy to be here. It's always hard to follow after a poet, but I am going to read the shortest essay in my collection. It's called The Sweetest Thing. I was in kindergarten on a half-day schedule, and my mom often picked me up on foot. This particular rainy February day, we walked the mile home for lunch together, Mom's umbrella sheltering both me and my small umbrella, as I chatted about the cardboard mailbox we decorated with pink and red construction paper, the fun variety of Snoopy, Barbie, and Scooby-Doo cards I received. At home, Mom directed me to hang up my wet jacket and wait in my bedroom for a surprise. My bedroom? I wondered if something was wrong. Had I misbehaved? Were she and Dad getting divorced? I had no reason to think this, but I still worried. I waited, paging through Amelia Bedelia instead of assembling my lunch downstairs, trying to interpret the sounds coming up from the kitchen. A few minutes passed until I could hear her approaching step, some dishes clinking together on a tray. She came into my room and set the tray down on my bedside table. She had used the pretty white china domed plate, painted with green vines and flowers. A delicate ceramic bud formed the handle of the dome, which I lifted to find a cream cheese and jelly sandwich on white bread, cut into a perfect heart, the prettiest Valentine of the day. The room service, the fancy dish, the dessert-like sweet sandwich, the white bread, the lack of crusts, it was all so out of the ordinary. I felt self-conscious and awkward and special and beloved. I also wished I was eating the sandwich as a snack in my kindergarten classroom. I was still trying to find my footing after our move from Tokyo to New York and my late fall arrival in school. With my Japanese-style drawing, despite my own blonde curls, I gave all the people in my pictures straight dark hair. My hand-me-down clothing and my homemade whole wheat bread, my classmates viewed me with some suspicion. A white bread sandwich could have given me some of the social currency I craved. But I was home, where Mom gave me a kiss on the head, wished me happy Valentine's Day, and then headed back to the kitchen. I was left to my lunch and my book all by myself. I did that, Mom said, when I brought it up once during high school. Friends were hanging out, all of us bantering about times our mothers were so mean and other times they had spoiled us. Now I felt proud that she gave me a Dawn doll to play with and forbade me the busty, swan-necked Barbies. I could appreciate her reaction when I came home from school with a grocery list of candy for a gingerbread project. "Oh, that's all junk," she exclaimed. "No, you can't buy all that. Not when there's so many people hungry in the world. No." My mother, ahead of her time, planting seeds that would flourish years later in my feminist theory classes when I volunteered at a food pantry. She'd often kept me out of step with my peers in little ways that embarrassed me at the time, but ultimately I grew to respect, a meanness I could laugh about. But the sandwich? I have no recollection, she said. Her forgetting, long before her forgetting became an illness, felt unremarkable at the time, even funny. I teased her about not remembering the sweetest thing she ever did for me. She poked holes in my story. "Why on earth would I walk all the way to school for you on a rainy day?" "Maybe," she suggested, "you're thinking of a time you had the flu and I brought you tea and toast in bed." But listening to my friends' stories of a surprise new outfit, a mother-daughter movie outing, permission to skip the school track meet, she tried to align herself with their kind and generous moms. Of course, this one gesture fell through her memory's cracks, she suggested, when she'd offered so many gifts over the years. But she hadn't, not quite. Cream cheese and jelly in bed stood out. Her most out-of-character gift, and therefore my favorite. She made it and then forgot. Her forgetting has by now become sandwiched so tightly with the original memory that I can't think of one without the other. Her forgetting has become the filter through which I now look at this sweet childhood scene. I like it that way. Her forgetting lets me give her credit for being sweet, while she remained the more practical and prickly mother I lost in her decline. Illness flattened her, but my memory preserves the complicated woman who occasionally surprised me. The end.
And so, Caroline, I know from the last time that we spoke, from the last time that you were on, that you for a while you were barely having enough time to write anything, and now you seem to be blossoming. You're like putting out another collection. You're doing all your things, coming back to the writing. How was it to come back to it? Because I know you were doing all the philanthropy, all the editing. You were doing so much to create and engender writing in others,
which I love.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
you're so good at it.
Thank you. I mean, I miss it. Like, I love that. And I'm still looking for ways to be the writing cheerleader and community builder that I love to be. But also I feel like I have no excuse not to write. I'm an empty nester now. You know, I published my first piece when my kids were little, and now they're 24 and 20. And it's how I make sense of the world. Like, it feels essential to write. So, and I was always doing a little bit while the foundation took precedence, but yeah, the priorities shifted, and that feels good. But of course, I'm also daunted because I spent, the years of the foundation reading so much incredible work by writer parents and seeing so much amazing visual art by artist parents that
well, and it's so interesting.
My standards have raised.
Right. It's so interesting also to bookend. Like, I mean, no writing is, like, it's all important. All the voices are important. And
yeah.
It's so interesting to hear like Amanda's global, historical, giant, very large poetry next to a quiet essay about mom.
Tiny.
But it's all valuable. And that's what's so glorious about writing and why nobody should stop. Do you hear me out there in viewer land? Don't stop.
I think so. Yeah. Preach into the choir.
You have to say what you have to say, whatever it is. It's so important. So we're going to come back to you. I promise, Caroline will come back to you. And we'll come back to you, Amanda. And while we're switching people, I also want to point out to the viewer people, this QR code that I can't point at because I don't know how to point in the opposite direction of what my hand is doing. I don't know how to be on TV. So this QR code in the corner here, it goes to bookshop.org. All of the books by all of the authors that we present on our salons are available to you to purchase if they are available on bookshop.org. Bookshop is a really cool nonprofit that takes, it allows you to buy books directly from your local independent bookstores. So it is a really nice thing. And then also it gives a percentage back to the nonprofit as a donation, which you do not absorb that cost, they do. So it's actually a really cool way to help the nonprofit, to help the authors that are reading here, and to help your independent bookstore. They'll send it right to your house, or you can go pick it up at their place. I feel like I'm doing a little commercial. So let's go move on to the next thing. We don't get paid. We just like Bookshop. It's cool. Who's the next person?
Yes, let's continue our all-star lineup here. Jan Constantino is a writer and licensed psychotherapist who has been in practice since 1983. Before that, she had a wide range of jobs, from working at Disneyland to dealing cards at Harrah's Lake Tahoe. Wow. And was also a comparative Latin ballroom dancer who performed in Argentine tango showcases. As a journalist, her work has appeared in publications including California Living, The Pacific Sun, and Point Reyes Light. Janet earned her MFA in creative writing from Pacific University in 2015, and in 2021, she won second place in the MFK Fisher Last House Writing Contest. She lives in Sonoma, California with her husband of 25 years, along with their Labradoodle and tuxedo cat. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you. This is my first time here, and I'm absolutely delighted and just curious to see how it all goes. And here I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to read from the beginning of my novel, Becoming Mariella, and there's a lot in this novel about food. It starts in Sicily and moves to San Francisco, and there's a lot in here about mother and daughter. So I'll begin. Mariella gripped the scrub brush so tightly her fingernails dug into her palm. She kept her eyes down, avoiding her mother's dark, accusing gaze, and concentrated instead on one of the many chips in the old cast iron sink's enamel, a black scar in the shape of a crescent moon. A marriage to such power, for us, for our family, Mama chanted in her sing-song voice, the one she used when she prayed or slipped over into what appeared to be a trance, which was at least 50 times a day. Oh, Dio, who can believe, Mama intoned. La Familia Russo, so blessed. Only the saints can say why Matteo chose you, but at this Mama raised her eyes to the statue of Saint Agatha in the niche of the Russo kitchen and slammed a cleaver, whack, straight down onto the neck of the handsome russet feathered chicken she'd held captive on the thick wooden butcher block. She threw the head into the nearby garbage bin, and with the back of her arm swept the chicken onto the floor. The bird circled the kitchen, spraying blood, its red fleshy waddle flopping as it ran, and bolted straight into Mariella's bare legs. There was a terrified and noisy flapping of wings, and a final squawk before the nerves in its spinal column gave way, and the headless creature collapsed at her feet. Ay! Mariella clenched her jaw and silently screamed. Chicken blood splattered her ankles and toes, her new tan leather sandals, the back of her calves, and the wooden kitchen cabinets, and seeped into the grout of the terracotta tiles on the floor. It was only a small amount of blood, but it spread like a bucketful. That does it, she inwardly fumed. She refused to give her mother the satisfaction of a reaction. Mama had engineered this beheading just to incite her daughter's revulsion. It was one of the conditions Mariella had insisted on time and again. If her mother wanted her help in the kitchen, no slaughtering of chickens here. There was a washroom in the basement of the building with a big sink and a big workbench, perfect for chicken bleeding and plucking. Grazie, Madrona, grazie, Mama, acting all innocent and unaware, lifted her arms to Saint Agatha. She quickly bagged the chicken in plastic, leaving a few feathers and the blood behind on the tiles as she carried the chicken off to the basement for plucking. You knew I was breaking in these sandals for the beach, Mariella muttered under her breath. She wiped away a tear with the back of her hand. You know I can't afford another pair. She gritted her teeth and scrubbed at the skin of that evening's stuffed sardines, seared onto the bottom of the blue speckled roasting pan, the residual odor of the oily fish wafting into her nostrils. I'm a prisoner, she whispered, although no one was there to hear, as baked into her family's expectations as that poor fish stuck onto the pan. She recited to herself the litany she'd memorized as a young child. Agatha, martyr and patron saint of all murders, of the city of Catania, of wet nurses, fire, earthquakes, and eruptions of Mount Etna. Mama's outbursts were as capricious as that volcano, endlessly rumbling in the background and framed through the Russo's dining room window. And I'm not cleaning the floor, Mariella yelled, knowing her mother was out of range 4 stories down. She didn't want to be a housewife. She didn't want to marry Matteo, even though she loved him. She didn't want to marry anyone. She scrubbed even harder at the fish's remains.
Yay. Poor chicken. Actually, not poor chicken. I've seen this. It's not pretty. When I grew up in Texas, there was some chicken that needed to get, yeah. It was something. Janet, you've done so much of interesting things, like the tango dancing. The tango dancing and all that. Can everybody hear that great echo? It's so fun to have echoes. Anyway, hopefully that won't continue. I wanted to ask you whether you were always a writer. Did you come to writing later? Was it something that you were interested in and then you got into? Can you just sort of guide us into how and when you started to actually write?
Well, I've been writing since I was in high school, and it was one of my really beloved English teachers who told me I had the makings of a writer, because I would write scenes, say, about my class. And he said, if you need to learn to link all of this together to make a story. So I've written all the way along short stories, screenplays, I have other novels in the drawer. And when I decided to become a psychotherapist, I had to put the writing aside to some extent. I also, yes, as you commented, published some journalistic things and stories, journal stories and human interest stories. But I really had to decide whether or not I was going to be a therapist or a writer. And I tried to do both, on the side. And then finally, at one point, I said, I'm going back to graduate school because I really want to become the best writer I'm capable of being. And that was for the MFA, even while I was still being a therapist. And so I've written all the way along. But this is my sort of debut published novel.
That's so exciting, and congratulations to you for having it. That's super, super cool. Okay, we're going to get one more reader in, and then we're going to talk. Very excited.
Okay, up next is Stewart Lewis. He is the author of novels that have been translated into 5 languages. His romantic comedy, Happily Whatever After, was praised as charming by Ellen Hilderbrand, and his young adult mystery, One Stupid Thing, has been adapted into a feature film starring Skies Katz and Corey Fogelmanis. In addition to writing novels, Stewart is also a singer, songwriter, screenwriter, and professor, and the father of an extraordinary teenager. Welcome, Stewart.
Yay! It's so good to have you back.
Whenever his mic is working, I hope he's also going to sing.
He's a rock star. His first book was about being a rock star, like an actual.
Thanks.
Are you there?
Uh-oh.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
I noticed that he dropped off a few times. I think maybe his Wi-Fi is wonky on his side. Stewart, can we hear you? At least he's frozen in a very dignified position. I know that if I ever get frozen, it's going to be in some weird face that I don't ever want to see again.
It's very right position.
He looks very engaged.
He does. Well, hopefully he'll come back. I think maybe what we should do is just pull everybody up, start talking, and then when he comes back on. Oh, wait, are you there?
Well, it's great to be back. I love Pen Parentis.
Yes.
Oh, no. Where did he go?
No, we've got the black screen.
Well, all right, let's just start talking a little bit. So I think everybody on here mostly has adult or older than teen children. Are we mostly it? Oh, wait, maybe he's here again. Hold on a second. Let me see. Is he going to come on? Can we hear him?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, well done. Well done.
I'm going to read really fast for work. No, I'm just kidding. So I thought I would read just an essay that I wrote about my daughter and my husband. And this is an edited version of it that was published on Motherwell. It's called Oh Baby. Our 4th date was the birth of my daughter. I knew he was a keeper, as all he brought to the hospital was a cute card.
Oh, no. Oh, I want to hear the story.
leaving. It didn't matter that I was a gay guy having a child with a female fan of my music who probably thought I was going to be famous. Steve was just there to support me with his lovely bald head and stylish glasses, a 50-year-old with the smile of a boy. He recently come out, so in a sense, he was a boy, discovering a new world for the first time. Yes, I had to clear his closet of plaids and dated brown shoes, but there he was, the sophisticated good looks of an executive, energy of a kid in a candy store. June 16th, I cut the umbilical cord and my baby screamed. She was beautiful, we could tell from the start. I brought my guitar and played her a song as she wriggled on the little heated bed. I'll never forget Steve in the doorway, a single tear escaping underneath his glasses like a raindrop down a window pane. Later that night in bed, I told him he was a trooper. I think it's great what you're doing. It's another layer, another interesting part of you. Steve was the soft yet solid ground I needed, the perfect house at the end of the winding road. We shared the love of eating at the bar, live music, and naps, especially now that we're older. One morning, as he was watching his coffee brew and I was assembling a smoothie, I told him I wanted about the dream I had the night before. My mother was walking me down the aisle, I told him. I got no response. He simply stared harder at the coffee brewing. I didn't bring it up again until he was halfway through his first mug. The vision for me has always been a husband and a child, I said. I never thought it would be possible. Now I have this beautiful girl, and he hugged me. He smelled like bright citrus soap and dreams. I don't think I could get married again, he said. I gulped my smoothie to hide the sting. It was silly to think that everything I pictured would come true, but every time I walked by a bridal store or saw our male couple's wedding picture in the New York Times, I thought it could still happen. About a year later, at an inn on Nantucket, the sun just gone, the sky a canvas of red brushstrokes above us, we walked down a sloping lawn out into the dock over the Sound, where he grabbed a ring he'd hidden under a storage box, got on one knee and said, I want to give you all of me. My heart filled with joy on tap. I could barely breathe. Will you marry me? He asked. Yes, I was able to say between hyperventilating, tears churning out of my eyes. I was so lucky, so grateful, so completely over the moon and every star. After our grand wedding, where our families and friends gathered, we started our married life. Rowan, my daughter, visited as a tween and said flying alone was like no big deal. She was really become a sharp, curious person, and it was fascinating to watch her evolve. The dream got better. We built our dream house, and Rowan visited every summer. It felt like one of those commercials pushing some kind of medication. The three of us laughing in the waves, the sun glistening on our skin, our Frenchie Oliver watching from underneath the beach umbrella, an idealistic tableau before they list the side effects. May cause, death of mother whom you adore more than anyone in the world, loss of husband's job, which was his whole identity, baby mama drama, emotional wounds from a teenager's disdain, two pesky kidney stones. But maybe that's why love exists. By living in each other's light, we can see in the dark. Steve is the person who administered the last bit of morphine to my mother. I'm the person who held him in the middle of the night while he trembled with crippling anxiety. Steve is my voice of reason and would do anything for me as I would for him. Love is doing, sacrificing, showing up, knowing when to keep quiet. Recently, Rowan graduated from high school, and when her name was called, we were like two crazed maniacs, filming, taking still shots, yelling, about to jump out of our seats and onto the stage. Rowan looked at us, her smile a beacon. Yes, she had an unconventional childhood, but we were always in her life, and we always will be. I looked over and saw that same raindrop tear in Steve's eye, the one that rolled underneath his glasses 18 years ago in the hospital doorway, and I thought, oh baby, we went as a river. We have curved so far around so many bends. Eventually, we will reach the ocean and be washed away, but we can say we loved. We loved.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Wow. And this was published, you said, in Motherwell magazine just now?
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah.
That's really fun. I'll have to get the link out to the people.
I'm just glad it worked and my internet didn't go out.
It's very, yeah, the internet is a wonky place. What can we say? But So I wanted to ask you, because you are so wildly creative in so many ways. I mean, you're a songwriter, you write novels, you're not, one of your novels just got made into a movie, like all these things that are so creative. So do you have any advice for people out who are parents, and especially gay parents, who have to deal with coming to terms with this whole identity that seems to cross purposes with some kind of stereotype that they didn't want in the first place anyway, and now he's gone?
No, there he is.
Are you back? So do you have any advice for the gay parents out there for like how to stay themselves and be creative? No, you can't go out. You have to have strong internet for this answer. It's very important. You're going to have to start over because we can't hear you. Oh, no. Come back, Stewart. Be back. Please be back.
Oh.
You have to start over. We didn't hear any of it. Oh, wait, where'd you go? This is crazy. Well, this is how you know it's not AI.
Right. We're all real. We're so real.
Let's bring everybody up and we'll start talking, and eventually he'll come back and we'll be able to talk to him when he comes back. And I hope it's soon. Because I really want to know the answer to that question. Oh, wait, here he is. Let's see. We're going to watch the dot with every fiber of our beings.
Loading.
That's so funny. There you are. Okay, you have to tell us again because you were gone. You were muted. Your bit Wi-Fi was weird. Stewart.
We're time traveling.
Yeah. We're going back. We're going back 10 minutes. Are you there, Stewart? Oh, Stewart, can you hear us? We didn't hear your answer. Can you hear us?
Yes. I think I can. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, for me, it's been more being able to sort of evolve as my daughter grew, as I grew older, and sort of still kind of maintain that curiosity and that creative drive. I think it's in all of us, right? It's like it's one of the reasons why we get out of bed. We want to like write something down. We want to create something, right? So it's being open to that and always kind of embracing that and knowing that, you have a voice. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, somewhat of an answer to your question.
No, that's good. It's true. How many of you like go from like feeling like you must say something as opposed to like you must write, but you have to communicate something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking this morning, I'm working with a publicist who has ties to the film industry, and he's asked me to write an essay or a short piece every other week or so, and I realized, I want to. I mean, it's not, oh man, I have to go write this thing. It's I want to, and so I think that's a really good question. Is it I have to go write, or is it there's something I want to say? I think for me, there's something I want to say.
What's your drive to write, Caroline? What makes you get up and go write it, Nessie?
I think I'm trying to figure things out in my writing. So I don't always start with such a directed like motivation as Janet, but I feel like it helps me make sense of the world if I can sit down and write every day. And like, yeah. And, this collection started with this idea I had about my mom's cognitive decline and how it, her brain seemed as unknowable to me as the workings of our, 70s suburban microwave. And then I thought, oh, we spent so much time in the kitchen. Like, what would happen if I sort of went through all the cabinets, and wrote about different things that we worked with. And of course, that's not what I shared with you today, but, this one felt like it suited the theme too, the things they leave us. She left me with this memory and story, but yeah, curiosity. That's what gets me writing every day. And I discover things, I'm sure you all feel that too, that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen at the bottom of the page when you start writing at the top of the page. And then it's like, oh, I didn't realize I thought that. And then you take it from there.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Amanda? What is your inspiration? What's the meat of why you write?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, just being curious and observant. I think as poets, especially, that is one of our duties, is to observe, and with the lens that we have, right? The way the light entered the room, the way the words sound, they just trigger things that is almost indescribable, but the poetry helps give it shape. So like the two poems that I shared, I also write, my poems are very personal, inspired by my family, my lived existence. I don't get too far off into the lyrical or metaphorical. It's pretty self-explanatory, most of my poems. But the first poem that I read for the children of Gardner Vet, I was in an opulent hotel across the street when it dawned on me where I was. Here in Austin, and wow, to say 30 years ago I was on that side of the street, and life looked very
It's a
different
powerful
now.
moment.
And so how do I capture this moment on both ends of that time, right? Or that timeline. So the poem just started there, and then you discover the poem and the writing of the poem. And then Phyllis Wheatley, again, many people know, especially if you're a writer in the literary world, then you've heard of Phyllis Wheatley. But we just recently celebrated 250 years. Phyllis Wheatley is older than the country. 250 years of Phyllis Wheatley. And so, but then still thinking of this child who was kidnapped and had put on spectacle with her brilliance that she never was fully credited with. But she brought all of that brilliance with her from Africa. It was already. And so just thinking about her life and her voice and what would she say? So it was in a persona poem, right? But then listening to what she might say, and the poem giving voice to it.
So are we going to touch on the things they leave us? Do we want to each of us share what that, it can mean anything that it means, it can be metaphorical, it could be personal experience, it could be inspiration. If we can all start, why don't we start with Stewart? Let's see if we can hear you, Stewart.
Yeah, so we're talking about something that we've written about that, or just in general?
The things they leave us is the theme of today's salon. So what would you like to share? It could be anything to you.
What does it bring up for you?
Okay. Well, I have to probably think of usually my mother, because I have a lot of her same qualities and feel like we were stars in the same constellation. So I think what she left me was a large part of her spirit that I'm then giving to other people. A small example is she used to change the words of lyrics to songs for people's birthdays. And so I do that now. And it's just like, it's so wonderful to be able to carry on that spirit and joy. Like, she was the person like at the piano at the party, like always bringing everyone together. And so I think I've been able to kind of carry that on. So that's what she left me. And it was a total gift. Yeah.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Janet, what about you?
Well, I was thinking of my grandmother, Josephina, who was born in Sicily and never learned to speak English, but she was brought here as a young bride, and then her husband died when my father was 2. Um, but she was probably the best cook I've ever known in my life, and I used to help her when I was a child. I would go down the street and help her, and I learned to cook from her, even though I didn't speak Italian and she didn't speak English. Somehow we communicated, and there were no written recipes, but somehow I absorbed some of it. But I also have really tried to understand what life was like for her, because she was not happy. She was brought here against her without permission, and was taken to the suburbs, which was not a good place for somebody from Sicily. And so I've developed a lot of compassion for her, and thought about her in some ways as a voiceless woman, but who had this incredible gift of being able to cook like nobody I ever knew.
That's so lovely. All right. Caroline, what about you?
Well, I definitely, as Janet was saying, was thinking about my mom, and she left me, confidence in the kitchen and a sense of I could make anything, even though there are a few things she didn't show me how to make. It was interesting reading in this forum where I can, catch a glance of myself and realize, oh, I look like my mother years old. Like she left me,
Weird. Yeah.
expressions and I think gestures. But it's my dad, who's still alive, who's still writing at 94. He imbued in me that sense I was talking about of, sitting down to write every day, to figure out, to try and make sense of the world. They left me many tangible things, many of which I am trying to move on to other people because it's all too much. But they left me some really intangible things that I treasure too.
Lovely. And Amanda, you did touch on it, but is there anything else you wanted to add on that before we open the conversation?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again so much for having me for this conversation. And the topic first made me think, kind of went in the opposite direction. And my daughters are grown now. So thinking of what they left me with now that they're no longer children. And, I will always be their mother, but that time of raising has happened, And so now we are adult women in the world. But my mother is still very alive, and I'm her child still. So it's left me in an interesting, kind of middle ground where you still have your parents, but your children are no longer young. But it left me with a lot of grace and understanding, that I understand better what my mother dealt with me. And I understand what it was like for the kids being kids. And so, yeah, just they left me with a lot of grace and understanding. And it's a really beautiful thing. I knew we would get here when they were younger, and I apologized in advance. That was one thing I did learn. I remember telling them not understanding, like 9 and 5 years old, looking at me, like, what are you talking about, woman? I'm like, I'm sorry. I know I'm getting it wrong. But it's coming from a place of love. And now just I'm left with a lot of grace and better understanding on both ends of that spectrum.
That's beautiful. Amanda, you made me think of something that, so a lot of our viewers have very small kids, are kind of in the thick of it. And they're absolutely and I know that one thing that comes up over and over again is if you only have a short amount of time to write, this is going to be very practical. So get your mind on really practical stuff. So if you only have a short amount of time to write, do any of you have the tricks or tips of how did you, back in the day when everybody was little and in your hair and knocking on the door, how did you get yourself to work during the short amount of time that you actually had to work? Let me start with Janet.
Oh, well, it's funny. The minute you said that, I thought I used to get up before my son. I mean, before the sun came up, even because I knew once he was up, it was on. So it was before sunrise.
All right, so we have one early morning.
Yeah.
Stewart?
Definitely nap time. Like I remember it was like so crucial. Like when she went down, when she was like it's like, oh my God, you have like 2 hours to like do everything you need to do. Like
And how
you
did
need
you
to
get
like
your brain to shift into creative mode at that point, or was it easy for you?
Yeah, I've been lucky that way. Like it's usually pretty easy for me because I'm like I just turn it on. Like I
Your brain
don't.
was primed. It was like already in creative mode going, when can I
Yeah.
write this down?
Yes. And then of course at night after she went to bed, it's whenever they're not, because basically when they're up, you can't really do anything. I mean, they're just like,
You'd be
why is the
surprised.
sky
Young
blue?
people.
Why is it blah, blah, blah? They ask like a million questions and it's like a constant.
That's true. Yeah. Amanda?
I love this question. I was just in Baltimore for AWPs. Many of you were. Yes. And I got to go to Lucille Clifton's home, which is now a nonprofit.
She read for us, by the way.
Yes. Yes. So I very much followed something that she said was you write the poem that comes. So she had 6 children. So while you got one on your hip and one's climbing up the side of the walls and everything is happening with this one free hand, you write down a couple lines and then you have something. You have words on the page that you can come back to and revise. But I also want to say, like, with again raising 2 daughters in our home, it was very important for me and my husband to instill in our daughters that they advocate for themselves, and that seeing their mother advocate for herself was a lesson that they were learning. And so one of the things I advocated for was my time. So my daughters knew when I was having a writing day in my office, not that they were like, everybody be still and we're afraid to disturb mommy. It wasn't that energy. It was like, oh, mommy's writing. So it's a quiet house today. I'm going to read myself. I'm going to write myself. I'm going to keep the noise down because we're all right now is a writing time and mommy's writing. But telling them advocate for yourself and what you need so that you can be your best self, because no one else knows if you don't.
Yeah, that's beautifully done. It's nice to have it be it's just an ordinary thing. Mom's, this is it. This is just the way work is.
Mm-hmm.
When I work, it needs to be quiet. Mm-hmm. That's nice. Caroline?
Yeah, the earlier,
yeah.
I was just going to say the earlier they know that you can't spread yourself out that far, that you have to have some of your own time, the earlier they know that, the better they're going to be. Because you can't be there 24/7 for them all the time.
And they can hold those boundaries with other people. It teaches them to hold those boundaries for themselves.
Right. To teach, yeah. I mean, teaching kids good boundaries is so hard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to following up on what Amanda and Stewart are saying about normalizing, you're a writer, you need quiet time and space. And protecting that, but also my youngest, I joined a writing group for parents with young children. Sophia, who's here, was part of that group. And we met in the kindergarten classroom at the JCC in North Berkeley. And we pooled funds for a babysitter. And she would have the kids at one end of the room. And then we would workshop our writing on the other end of the room. And so if the kids needed us, some of them were still nursing or they needed a snack or to intervene, we were right there. And so Eli, he's 20 now, but he doesn't remember a time that my writing wasn't a part of his life. I would also say I just wrote notes to myself all over the place. And when my kids were younger, I wrote a lot about them or included anecdotes about them and other things I was writing. And so I always had a notebook. I was always keeping writing stuff down or writing things down that their amazing observations sparked. So that when I sat down, there was material right there handy.
That's a really sorry, I just want to springboard off that because that's really interesting to me, is like whether any of your kids now, that because they're all pretty grown, have they ever had responses that were pretty strong to anything that you wrote, either positive or negative? But was there anything that pops into your head where you're like, oh yeah, there was that one time that they picked up my book, or they didn't read something, or that you thought they would? Anything like that? Go ahead, Amanda, you're nodding.
Oh yeah, more than a little bit. But thinking now, I recently was going through some of my papers and found a very, very early, like literally the first poem I ever read and shared in public. And it was about writing and sharing something with my daughters, and my oldest telling me that they didn't think it was any good.
Oh,
She was about 8 years old. The poem is titled Animal Instinct, and it just ends with, and now I understand why sometimes animals choose to eat their young.
So good. Bless. Yeah, I had my daughter read one of my, I said, we read the first chapter of my young adult book. She was like 12. It was like perfect age. And she was like, nothing's happening, Daddy. Nothing happened. I'm like, it's fucking it's YA. Like, it's moving so fast. There is so much happening. It's young adult. Like, and she's like, nothing's happening. And I'm like, she read like 3 pages. I was like, oh.
I wrote a poem when my son went to college, and I made the mistake of, it was about empty nesting, and grief. There was some grief there. Well, he did not want to hear about that. No, just, I should be glad. I mean, I was happy for him.
Yeah, you should be proud. You should be glad. You should let them go. None of this sadness.
No
It's
sadness.
silly.
But
I will say, when the same book became a movie, she went to the premiere with her friends, and she was really happy.
Oh, of course.
Wait till you see what happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
No, they got older, and they're very proud of me now. My daughters are 31 and 24, and every now and then I'll get a text message just like, "Where's that link to that article in the paper? Where's that picture of you with the Prime Minister of Ireland?" That was a good one. They were like, "I want to show somebody that."
There you go.
It comes back around. It comes back around. Yeah.
I wrote stories about my son, which he liked. Children's stories when he was a little boy. He liked that.
It does seem to be rather ubiquitous that most of the kids, when they're little, are very happy to be written about in the beginning until you start writing the real truth.
Oh, I'll say when my daughters were also dating, that was funny. They were like, "You'll know when you're really part of the family when she writes about you."
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
That's great.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In circle. Nice.
Hilarious. Okay, it is incredible to me that we are at the top of the hour, but I just need to take the last 2 minutes to let everybody know about our today's salon sponsor, because this is going to take a little minute, but it's kind of fantastic. So tonight's the sponsor for today's salon is the Paris Writers Workshop. And the Paris Writers Workshop is run by Lauren Grodstein, who also read for Pen Parentis. She's a parent, and she's been teaching creative writing in Paris for over 20 years in the summers. And her week-long workshop is for anybody who is at that finishing end. They've already got a manuscript. It's good. It's ready to go. They don't know what to do with it. So it is for the guidance for the next steps of what to do with a finished manuscript. And there are going to be writers, editors, and agents there. It's a small group to mingle with, network with, and find those next steps. You find out about editing, querying, publishing, and building a sustainable writing life. But here's the kicker. As part of her sponsorship to us, she is awarding 1 first prize full scholarship to the Paris Writers Workshop, 2 second prizes at 50% off, and 3 third prizes at 30% off. And the way to enter is to just go to our submittable page, the Pen Parentis submittable page. You make a $10 donation to Pen Parentis because she likes us, and because also at this point, a lot of submitters are asking for submission fees to avoid having AI written stuff. Because a lot, I've at AWP, in fact, Amanda, you may have noticed this too, that a lot of the people that have small publications are getting overwhelmed by people who are submitting 30, 40, 100 stories, that they're just prompting an AI to write a new story, especially if it's a prompted story, and they'll just deluge these small magazines. So a lot of people are now doing submission fees simply for that reason. And so, you know, submit. You'll give us $10. You'll get to not write AI, and you'll get to maybe go to Paris. The prize not include lodging or airfare, but the workshop will help you find low-cost housing in the neighborhood. And it is open right now from March 10th to March 24th. But additionally, our fellowship is also open. So every year, Pen Parentis hosts a writing fellowship for writers that are new parents. So anybody whose kids are any one of their kids is under age 10, you are able to apply for our fellowship, which is $2,000 publication, a year of mentorship, and you get to read at a Pen Parentis literary salon. So it's a pretty great prize. And the people that have won it, most of them have gone on to publish novels. One of them, in fact, Taylor Hobbs, we were just talking, took her actual little tiny story. We always keep the word count under 1,000 because you're new parents, you have no time. But we want you to generate something new. A lot of parents just start sending out trunk stories after they have kids. And we want you to generate, to understand that your talent doesn't leave you when you have a kid. You just run out of time, energy, and money. And so we're trying to give you all three of those things. We're trying to incentivize you to write something new, maybe win something, get some mentorship, get some help, and learn how to, you know, create your writing practice so that you can continue writing, so you can be just as famous and good and fabulous and good literary citizens as Amanda, Caroline, Janet, and Stewart, and Marina, and me. So please keep writing, keep working on your stuff. Come back next month, April 14th salon. We record. You can come and join the recording thing. It'll drop the Friday after as a show on YouTube. So the April salon will feature Len Lawson, who's been with us before. He is an amazing poet, Fred Moten, and Chital Mehta. So please come on back and watch and talk and chat. Thanks so much for everybody, especially Sophia and Helene, who said hi in the comments. And of course, hi, Clydette in the front row. Thank you so much for coming. Everybody, we'll see you next month. We'll talk soon.